All right, so are you ready to dive deep? Today we're tackling The Girl Who Was Taken by Charlie Donnelly. This one, well, let me tell you, it really grabs you and
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
let go. We'll hit the highlights, the stuff that makes it stick with you.
Oh, yeah, it's a classic, right? You got your small town missing girls, but Donnelly, he doesn't stop there. He throws in these twists and turns that get under your skin.
You said it.
Yeah.
So we have Megan and Nicole, both teenagers, vanish without a trace. Then, bam, 2 weeks later, Megan's back. But Nicole, still gone. Talk about a mystery, right? And here's the kicker. The book jumps back and forth in time, before the abduction and during the investigation.
That dual timeline, it's a stroke of
Hmm.
genius, especially if you're like me, someone who loves a good puzzle.
Huh?
Keeps you guessing the whole time. What's real, what's a messed up memory, and what's someone straight up lying?
And hold on, it gets even better. Megan, she's a survivor now. And she writes a memoir. Instant fame, you'd think, right? But can we really trust everything she says? The book, it makes you think about how trauma can twist your memories, even your own. Like, have you ever thought about how fragile our memories can be?
That's a really good point. Makes you question every word you read, right? Especially since we're only getting Megan's side of the story. Don Lee, he's clever, doesn't give us easy answers. I think that's what makes this book so powerful. He wants you to wrestle with these questions right alongside the characters.
Then there's Livia, Nicole's sister. And get this, she's a forensic pathologist. How cool is that? Talk about an unusual protagonist for a thriller.
No kidding. Right.
Yeah.
Having a forensic pathologist at the center of it all, that's what I call refreshing. It adds this whole other dimension to the investigation, don't you think? She's not just going with her gut. She's using science, real knowledge to analyze the evidence. That's what hooked me. It's like she's seeing things nobody else can.
For sure. She's looking at all the pieces under a microscope while everyone else is just fumbling around in the dark.
Exactly. And you can feel her desperation, desperate to find out what happened to her sister. You're instantly rooting for her, hoping she'll uncover the truth.
So we have this mystery, a narrator we can't fully trust, and a super smart investigator.
Hmm.
But what else makes this book stand out? What did you find most interesting about how Donnelly built his story?
You know what really struck me? This theme of truth that runs through the whole book. Megan's trying to find her truth, writing it all down in her memoir, while Livia's searching for the truth about what happened to her sister, using the actual evidence. Seeing those two paths, how they cross, how they sometimes clash, that's fascinating. Oh, and the other characters, they're not just there for show. They really add to the whole thing. Donnelly, he gives them depth. Like the cops, they're doing their best, but they're up against it, not enough resources. And then Megan's family trying to protect her, but also needing answers themselves. It's heartbreaking. And Nicole's friends dealing with the grief and the guilt, wondering if they could have done something. Every single character brings something new to the story.
That's so true. You can really feel how this event, it just ripped through the whole town, Emerson Bay. No one escapes untouched. Makes you think, what if this happened in your own town?
Mm-hmm.
How would people react?
No kidding. And then there's this whole other layer, this dark side of fame thing Donnelly explores. Megan, her memoir makes her a star, but it also puts her under this intense pressure, scrutiny. People doubt her, judge her. She's a survivor, yeah, but she's also a target.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get this platform, you can tell your story, take back control, but you're also opening yourself up to, well, to everything. All the good and the bad that comes with being in the spotlight.
Makes you think about how we take in these stories, especially the ones that are supposed to be true, personal accounts of trauma. Do we just believe everything we read? Or should we be more skeptical, considering people might be trying to manipulate us, and the media, well, they play a big role in shaping how we see things.
It's like those true crime documentaries. They're everywhere these days. Are they giving us a whole picture? Or just a carefully crafted story to keep us glued to the screen?
Exactly. Donnelly, he's making us think about these things, these real life issues, and he does it through this thriller, which is pretty clever, if you ask me. It's not like he's preaching, but he's definitely woven these questions into the fabric of the story.
So it's not just a thriller, right? It's a commentary on society, on the media, on how we understand truth and justice. Lots to unpack, and I love that.
I agree, and that's what makes it so good. It stays with you, even after you finish reading. You keep thinking about those ideas, examining your own biases. It's powerful stuff.
One thing that really stood out to me was the characters, how complex they are. They felt so real, like people you could actually meet. Even when they were making bad decisions, you could see their motivations, why they did what they did, their flaws, their hopes, all of it.
I agree. Donnelly's really good at creating characters, making them feel real. But I'm curious, did you ever find yourself thinking, wait a minute, that's a bit too convenient? Some people might say he relies on coincidences a bit too much to move the plot along.
I see what you mean. There were definitely a couple of times where I thought, really? That's a bit much. But honestly, for me, those coincidences, they kept the story moving so fast. I didn't mind too much. It added to the suspense, like anything could happen next.
That's a good point. And in the end, I think the good stuff in the book outweighs any of the little things that might bother some people. Donnelly, he's written a thriller that makes you think, a real page turner, and I think a lot of people will enjoy it, especially those who like a good mystery with some psychology thrown in.
Totally. The way he handles those two timelines, just giving you enough information to keep you hooked, but not spoiling the surprises. It's like putting a puzzle together, bit by bit. And the pace, it never lets up. I couldn't put it down.
Did you find yourself staying up late too, dying to know what happened next?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those books that pulls you in and doesn't let go until the very end. And even then, it leaves you with questions, things to think about long after you finish reading. Okay, so we've talked about the good stuff, the characters, the suspense, the thought-provoking themes, Donnelly's writing style, how fast the story moves. But what about the things that maybe didn't work so well? We mentioned the coincidences, but was there anything else you felt didn't quite hit the mark?
Well, like we said before, the coincidences, they might be a bit much for some readers, but I think it's important to remember this is fiction, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to just go with it, suspend your disbelief a little to really enjoy the story, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's not real life. It's a thriller. It's supposed to be entertaining and keep you guessing. And Donnelly, he definitely succeeded at that. But now I'm curious, what if Livia, what if she hadn't been a forensic pathologist? Would we even know the truth about Nicole? Would it have ever come out?
Wow, that's a great question. Really makes you think about how important Livia's skills were, right? All that scientific knowledge, how she notices every little detail, and how she just wouldn't give up. Without her, I mean, who knows? The case could have gone cold, or even worse, they might have blamed the wrong person.
Yeah, it makes you think about all those real-life cases where they never get justice, because they're missing that one key person, someone who can see what everyone else missed. Like Livia, with her forensic background, it's like she's seeing a whole other side of the story, a side no one else can even see.
Absolutely. And it's not just the science, right? It's personal for her. It's her sister who's gone, and that's what drives her, what gives her that emotional edge. A regular investigator, they might not have that same fire.
So bottom line, if you're looking for a thriller that'll keep you up all night, make you think, and stick with you long after you finished it, The Girl Who Was Taken is definitely worth a read, don't you think?
Absolutely, 100%. It's a story about what fame can do to a person, how memory can be so tricky, and how far someone will go to get justice. If you like psychological thrillers with strong women at the heart of it, this one's for you. And hey, if this deep dive got you hooked, just think of all the other amazing stories out there waiting to be discovered.
So there you have it. Keep those pages turning, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.